The most terrifying night, 21 UFOs in Brazil. What you're about to discover was classified as top secret for decades, buried in military archives, hidden from the public eye, and when the truth finally emerged, it shattered everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. May 19, 1986. Brazil. 21 unidentified flying objects invade one of the most heavily monitored airspaces in South America, tracked by military radar, witnessed by commercial pilots, chased by fighter jets, and the Brazilian government had no choice but to admit what happened on national television. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is documented military history. And what happened that night proves we are not alone. The evening started like any other. Air traffic controllers at the São José dos Campos radar station were monitoring routine flights when something impossible appeared on their screens. Multiple objects moving at speeds that defied every law of physics we understand. These weren't birds. They weren't weather balloons. They weren't experimental aircraft. These were solid targets performing maneuvers that would kill any human pilot instantly. Objects accelerating from 0 to thousands of miles per hour in seconds, making 90-degree turns at supersonic speeds, hovering motionless before vanishing and reappearing hundreds of miles away. The controllers watched in disbelief as the objects multiplied across their screens. 1 became 5. 5 became 10. 10 became 21. But here's where it gets terrifying. These objects weren't just flying randomly. They were following a pattern. They were coordinated, moving in formations that suggested intelligence, purpose, intent. And they were heading directly toward major population centers. São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, cities with millions of people below, completely unaware that something from beyond our world was descending from the night sky. The military had a decision to make, and they had seconds to make it. Do nothing and risk whatever these objects intended, or scramble fighter jets and confront the unknown. They chose confrontation. 5 F-5E Tiger II fighter jets roared into the darkness, piloted by Brazil's most experienced combat aviators. Captain Armindo Souza Viriato, one of the intercepting pilots, later described what he encountered in testimony that still sends chills down the spine of anyone who reads it. He saw the objects with his own eyes. Bright lights performing impossible aerial maneuvers, dancing through the sky like they were mocking our primitive technology. He tried to pursue them. He pushed his aircraft to maximum speed, following the objects as they led him on a chase through the clouds. And then something happened that changed his life forever. The object stopped, just hung there in the air, waiting, as if it wanted to be seen, as if it was studying him the same way he was trying to study it. Captain Viriato wasn't the only one. Multiple pilots reported the same experience. Getting close to the objects, feeling like they were being observed, watched, analyzed by something with capabilities far beyond human understanding. One pilot described how an object positioned itself behind his aircraft, following his every move, matching his speed perfectly, staying just out of reach. No matter what evasive maneuvers he attempted, the object stayed locked on his tail. The predator had become the prey. These weren't just lights in the sky anymore. These were craft demonstrating technological superiority that made our most advanced military hardware look like Stone Age tools. Ground radar confirmed everything the pilots were seeing. 21 distinct targets moving through Brazilian airspace for over 3 hours. But here's what makes this case absolutely undeniable. It wasn't just military radar. Commercial airline pilots saw them too. Dozens of civilian witnesses on the ground looked up and saw the lights performing their impossible dance across the night sky. This wasn't a secret military test. This wasn't mass hallucination. This was a coordinated demonstration of power witnessed by hundreds of trained observers, all corroborating the same impossible story. The Brazilian Air Force tried to intercept these objects for hours. Every attempt failed. The objects seemed to anticipate every move the pilots made, staying just ahead, just out of reach, toying with humanity's best warriors like they were children playing tag. And then, as suddenly as they appeared, they were gone. All 21 objects vanished from radar simultaneously, leaving the pilots circling empty sky, their instruments detecting nothing, their eyes seeing only darkness. Whatever intelligence controlled those craft had made its point. We are not the dominant species on this planet. We never were. Now here's where the story becomes even more disturbing. The Brazilian government, under international pressure and unable to deny what hundreds of people had witnessed, did something unprecedented. They held a press conference. On May 23, 1986, just 4 days after the incident, high-ranking military officials stood before cameras and admitted publicly that they had tracked unidentified flying objects, that fighter jets had been scrambled, that these objects performed maneuvers impossible for any known aircraft. This was the first time in modern history that a major government openly acknowledged a UFO event of this magnitude while it was still fresh in public memory. But why did they admit it? What forced their hand? The answer is terrifying. They admitted it because they had no other choice. Too many witnesses. Too much radar data. Too many pilots with impeccable records willing to testify. The cover-up would have been more damaging than the truth. But even in their admission, they held back. They released some information, but classified the rest. 600 pages of military investigation. 600 pages documenting what really happened that night. And most of it remains sealed to this day. What's in those classified files? What did the military discover that they still can't reveal almost 40 years later? Listen carefully to what happens next, because this is where the story connects to something even darker. 3 weeks after the aerial incident, in the city of Virginia, approximately 200 miles from the intercept zone, 3 young women encountered something that would transform this from a UFO case into a close encounter of the third kind. Walking home in the afternoon, they saw a creature crouched in an empty lot. Not human. Not animal. Something else. Brown skin with a texture like leather, large red eyes that seemed to glow in the daylight, 3 protrusions on its head like horns or antennae, oil dripping from its body, a smell so overwhelming they could barely breathe. The creature looked injured, frightened, trapped on a world that wasn't its home. The women ran screaming. Within hours, military personnel descended on the area. Witnesses reported seeing military trucks, soldiers in hazmat suits, a coordinated operation to capture and remove something from that empty lot. Local residents were ordered to stay inside. Roads were blocked. And then silence. Official denial. Nothing happened. You didn't see what you saw. Go back to your lives and forget. But the people of Virginia couldn't forget, because more witnesses came forward. A firefighter who helped capture the creature. Hospital staff who treated military personnel exposed to something unknown. A police officer who touched the creature and died weeks later from a mysterious infection that doctors couldn't identify. Do you believe life exists on other planets? Have you ever considered that they might already be here, walking among us, hiding in plain sight? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because what I'm about to tell you will challenge everything you think you know about alien contact. The Virginia incident wasn't random. It was directly connected to the May 19th aerial encounter. The creature found in that empty lot was a survivor. One of the beings whose craft had been tracked by Brazilian radar 3 weeks earlier. The military had shot something down. They had captured something. And they were desperate to contain the evidence before the world found out. Military documents obtained through Freedom of Information requests reveal a level of activity in those weeks that suggests a massive cover-up operation. Unusual troop movements. Hospital admissions of military personnel with unknown medical conditions. Increased security at multiple military bases. Confiscation of civilian footage and photographs. Intimidation of witnesses. The Brazilian government was hiding something so significant that they were willing to threaten their own citizens to keep it secret. And here's the most disturbing part. They weren't working alone. American military officials arrived in Brazil within days of the Virginia encounter. Why would the United States send specialists to Brazil to investigate a local incident unless they knew it was part of something much bigger? The creature captured in Virginia was transported to a secure facility. Multiple witnesses reported seeing a small humanoid figure covered with a sheet being loaded into a military vehicle. The hospital where military personnel were treated reported equipment malfunctions, strange readings on medical devices, and unexplained interference with electronic systems. One nurse described seeing something in a sealed room that she couldn't explain, something that made her question the nature of reality itself. She refused to speak publicly about what she saw, citing threats from military intelligence, but her testimony was recorded by independent researchers before she disappeared from public life entirely. Think about the implications. If the Brazilian military captured an extraterrestrial being in 1986, where is it now? Did it survive? Was it transported to the United States? Is it being held in a facility like Area 51, studied, dissected, kept alive for experimentation? Or did it die, leaving behind technology and biological samples that have been reverse-engineered for decades in secret programs hidden from congressional oversight? The technology demonstrated by those craft on May 19th suggests capabilities centuries beyond our current understanding. Propulsion systems that manipulate gravity or space-time itself. Materials that can withstand incredible forces without breaking. Energy sources that make our nuclear reactors look like campfires. Military pilots who encountered the objects that night reported something else. Something they rarely discuss publicly because it sounds too unbelievable. The objects communicated with them. Not through radio. Not through any conventional means. Through consciousness itself. Thoughts appearing in their minds that weren't their own. Messages transmitted directly into their awareness. One pilot described it as feeling like something was downloading information into his brain, like a computer receiving data. He said he suddenly understood things he had no way of knowing, saw images of places he had never visited, felt emotions that weren't his own. This wasn't just a close encounter. This was attempted contact. These beings were trying to communicate, and our governments didn't want us to know. The official investigation produced 600 pages of testimony, analysis, radar data, and photographic evidence. Only a fraction has been declassified. What remains hidden? Reports suggest that radar installations recorded the objects performing maneuvers that violated known physics. Instant acceleration to Mach 15 or higher. Sudden stops from supersonic speeds without any deceleration period. Right-angle turns that would generate G-forces fatal to any biological organism we understand. Either these craft contained beings whose biology operates under different rules, or the technology itself provided protection from inertial forces that we cannot comprehend. Either possibility revolutionizes our understanding of what's possible in this universe. Consider the timing. May 1986. The Cold War was at its peak. The United States and Soviet Union were engaged in a nuclear standoff that threatened humanity's existence. And then this happens. 21 unidentified craft invading sovereign airspace, demonstrating technological supremacy that made both superpowers obsolete. Was this a message? A warning? Were these beings telling us that our primitive weapons and tribal conflicts meant nothing to intelligences that could traverse the stars? Some researchers believe the May 19th event was a deliberate display. A demonstration intended to be witnessed, recorded, and remembered. A cosmic intervention at a moment when humanity teetered on the edge of self-destruction. The pilots who chased those objects carry psychological scars decades later. Captain Viriato has spoken publicly about how the experience changed him. He knows what he saw. He knows it wasn't human technology. He knows that our governments lied to us about the reality of extraterrestrial contact. And he's not alone. Dozens of military pilots from around the world have come forward with similar stories. Encountering craft that defy explanation. Being ordered to remain silent. Living with the knowledge that we are not the dominant intelligence on Earth, while the public remains ignorant of this cosmic truth. These men and women risked their careers, their reputations, their safety to tell us what they know. Are we listening? The Virginia creature, if the witnesses are to be believed, represents proof of biological extraterrestrial life. not microbes on Mars, not fossilized bacteria in meteorites. Living, breathing, intelligent beings with their own civilization, their own technology, their own reasons for visiting Earth. The descriptions match what abduction experiencers have reported. For decades. Small humanoid figures with large eyes, grayish or brownish skin, 3-digit hands, beings that communicate telepathically and seem more interested in studying us than harming us. But if they're peaceful observers, why all the secrecy? Why does the military respond with weapons drawn every time these beings appear? What do governments know that we don't? Here's a disturbing possibility that researchers have been investigating for years. The May 19th incident might have been a rescue operation. Those 21 craft weren't invading Brazilian airspace. They were searching, looking for something, or someone. And 3 weeks later, they found what they were looking for in Virginia. A crew member left behind, stranded, injured, trying to survive on a hostile world while its companions searched desperately from above. The military captured this being before the rescue could be completed. And somewhere in a classified facility, an extraterrestrial intelligence sits in captivity, cut off from its home, its people, its world. Think about that. The cosmic implications of that level of cruelty. Documents leaked from military sources describe the creature as appearing frightened and confused. Not aggressive. Not threatening. Just lost and trying to hide from the terrifying primitives who wanted to capture it. Witnesses say it made sounds that resembled crying or moaning, sounds of distress that transcended language and species. It reached out to its captors not with violence but with what seemed like pleading gestures. And humanity's response was to throw it in a cage and study it like a laboratory specimen. If this story is true, we are the monsters. We are the hostile aliens. And any civilization watching from the stars must look at us with disgust at what we do to those who fall into our hands. The press conference held by the Brazilian Air Force in 1986 was unprecedented, but it was also carefully controlled. They admitted the minimum necessary to maintain credibility. They confirmed the radar contacts. They acknowledged the scrambled jets. But they characterized the objects as unidentified, not extraterrestrial. They left room for conventional explanations even though none existed. They planted seeds of doubt. Weather phenomena, atmospheric anomalies, technical malfunctions, anything but the obvious truth staring everyone in the face. This is how disclosure works. Give people information but frame it in a way that allows them to remain comfortable in their denial. Let them choose to not believe what they're being told. But some chose to believe. Researchers descended on Brazil in the months following the incidents. They interviewed witnesses. They collected testimony. They documented evidence. And what they found was a pattern of contact stretching back decades. The May 19th event wasn't isolated. It was one of hundreds, perhaps thousands, of encounters that Brazilian military and civilian pilots had experienced over the years. Brazil has one of the highest rates of UFO sightings in the world. The Amazon rainforest, in particular, is a hotspot of activity. Remote areas where ancient civilizations left behind megalithic structures and mysterious geoglyphs visible only from the air. Are these beings drawn to something in the Amazon? Ancient sites that hold significance we don't understand? Or are they monitoring something else? The destruction of the rainforest? The extinction of species? Humanity's impact on the biosphere? Indigenous tribes in the Amazon have legends going back centuries about sky people who descend from the stars. Beings of light who share knowledge and warnings. Teachers who came from above to guide humanity through dark times. These stories predate modern UFO sightings by hundreds of years. They describe craft that sound identical to what witnesses see today. They speak of beings who can move through solid matter, who communicate without words, who exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Western science dismisses these accounts as mythology, but what if they're historical records? What if contact has been happening for millennia and we've been interpreting it through cultural filters that prevent us from seeing the truth? The 600-page report compiled by Brazilian military investigators remains mostly classified. The sections that have been released are heavily redacted. Black bars cover the most sensitive information. Names of witnesses removed. Technical details obscured. Conclusions hidden. But even the fragments that remain tell an incredible story. Multiple radar installations tracking the objects simultaneously. Triangulation confirming their positions and velocities. Photographic evidence from multiple sources showing lights in formation. Pilot testimony describing impossible maneuvers. This wasn't a single witness seeing something ambiguous. This was a coordinated event witnessed by trained professionals using advanced detection equipment across multiple locations. The evidence meets every scientific standard for validity. So why isn't this case taught in schools? Why isn't May 19, 1986 recognized as one of the most significant dates in human history? The night we were forced to confront the reality that we share this universe with intelligences beyond our comprehension? The answer is simple and terrifying. Those in power don't want you to know. They don't want you asking questions. They don't want you demanding transparency. They benefit from your ignorance, your complacency, your willingness to accept comfortable lies instead of uncomfortable truths. The implications of disclosure are too vast, too destabilizing. Religious institutions would crumble. Economic systems would collapse. Social hierarchies based on human supremacy would disintegrate. Everything we think we know about our place in the cosmos would need to be rewritten. But the truth doesn't care about our institutions or our comfort. The truth exists whether we acknowledge it or not. And the truth is that on May 19, 1986, 21 extraterrestrial craft entered Earth's atmosphere, allowed themselves to be detected and pursued by military forces, and then departed on their own terms, proving beyond any doubt that we are not alone in this universe. 3 weeks later, one of their crew members was captured in Virginia, Brazil, marking the first confirmed physical custody of an extraterrestrial biological entity by a modern government. These events happened. They are documented. They are real. And the governments of the world continue to hide the full truth from you. If you've made it this far, you're one of the few willing to confront these uncomfortable realities. You're ready to see beyond the veil of deception that keeps humanity docile and controllable. Subscribe to this channel for more hidden truths they don't want you to know. Share this video with someone who needs to wake up. And check out our next investigation into Area 51's underground facilities and what really happened to the Roswell crash survivors. The rabbit hole goes deeper than you can imagine. Are you ready to follow it?